Please rise to the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the March 27th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. If anyone is here for the battery storage, there's been a lot of press on tonight. It's not on the agenda tonight. We're not going to discuss it. I just don't want to waste anyone's time if that's the case. It might be on the agenda in April. Nothing's come forward to be on the agenda. So you can just check with Rose. April, May, I'm not sure when it'll come forward next. But I just didn't want to, we're not going to discuss it tonight if anyone's here for that. First on the agenda, we're going to make a little modification to the agenda. First on the agenda is Yankee Land Development. Mike, I don't believe you had any comments on this, did you?
I have no objection to the extension of approval.
And Rich, I believe you had some.
Well, same, no objection to granting the 180-day extension. There's all the other requisites that they need to follow once they move forward with it.
And Pat?
No objections to the extension, Mr. Chairman.
So the famous question is, what's planned, what's the time frame? Do you estimate, what's
Well,
what's
like I
new?
said, I think I was here last month because we have 2 extensions going on, and we finally got it in front of a real estate broker, and hopefully something will be done shortly.
Good. So this is a 1-year extension or 180 days?
6 months.
6 months. Okay. Ray, do we have a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the 180-day extension to the applicant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good
Good night,
evening.
guys, thank you. And ladies.
Guys, it's generic. Next on the agenda is GNF subdivision 2054 Route 6, amended site plan. Mike?
Yeah, my memo is basically the exact same as last month. Planning board's allowed to waive this if they choose to. There's no zoning requirement for sidewalks in this. It's up to the planning board whether they want it or not.
And Rich?
My memo last time was that we asked for additional information. The applicant has provided that information for the planning board to review. That's all I got.
Rich, what information was that?
Just additional information as to the whys, hows, and whens, and
Okay.
I believe they provided that.
Thank you. And Pat?
Same thing, Mr. Chairman, no additional comments. The only comments last time were to provide the supplemental information that Rich just referred to, which they've done.
Right. So this is clearly a planning board discussion and our decision here. Any questions from the board at this point? So would you just refresh our memories on why you're asking for no sidewalk? I believe Mr. Kamada originally
Sure.
volunteered to put the sidewalk in.
Right, so there's a couple reasons. I'll let Paul talk to the reason as the owner of some of the lots along the road, but one of the reasons was the cross-section on the shoulder of the road, which we provided a section for you guys. Curbing, sidewalk, guide rail only leaves about 2.5 feet for the NICEAG installation. Over the years, NICEAG's been has gotten more restrictive with where they let you put the underground utilities. You used to be able to do it under sidewalks. That's no longer the case. So given that and the existing grading that's out there along the road, you're really only left with a 2.5 foot strip on the back side of the guide rail before the slope drops off on the southern side of the road. So it's a tight spot to work in to put that in.
I did ask everyone on the board to go out there and visit the site. I know I've visited it several times. Any questions here from the board? One question for me comes to mind, and why can't it go on the other side?
Though the water line is on the other side of the road. The town water runs up, the sewer goes up the center of the road. The water's on the north and east side.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, if you want me to answer any questions tonight or clarify anything, just
up and I'll certainly.
So, one thing I walk lots every day, and I would definitely attempt to make that trip at least once. One thing I'm concerned with, and I was in another meeting earlier, we talked about recreation and walking paths. For the board's benefit and mine, what's available up by the, I believe it's 300 townhomes?
300 townhomes, yes.
Will there be sidewalks for those units?
There'll be sidewalks throughout that community for their actual residents. Remember, those, once you get past the cul-de-sac, they're all private roads up there. But yes, there'll be sidewalks for the community to walk around. There's also over a mile of walking trails besides.
Paul, speak into the microphone, please, for the people on
Oh, sorry.
TV.
There's sidewalks throughout the community. And I said, once you get beyond the cul-de-sac, the roads are private. And besides all the sidewalks, there's over a mile of dedicated walking trails that go throughout the property, go down by the lake, all previously approved by the planning board, by DEP, DEC. So this is all in the plans.
And it's your responsibility to maintain those, or who will maintain those?
That would be the homeowners association will maintain those roads.
Okay.
Those paths, sidewalks will be shoveled. The paths are going to be wood chip paths as per the approvals. And they go down to the lake, and there's some benches along those pathways. It's a very nice community. We have an overabundance of recreation, 2 swimming pools, every kind of recreational amenity, tennis courts, pickleball courts, bocce courts. I mean, we have it all there. A putting green. So if you're an active person and like that type of stuff, it will be a good community. It'll be a good fit.
Will you have centralized mail?
Excuse me?
The mail, will it be centralized or will it be each house?
The mail?
Yes.
That's something that's being discussed still.
Just keep in mind, if you plan on putting mailboxes, you can't put the mailbox beyond the sidewalk because the mailman can't reach it. So we had that on, what was that, St. Michael's? Yeah. So they weren't able to do it. So you'd just think about maybe doing a centralized mailbox if you can.
I would say the compromise there would be a number of central locations rather than maybe individuals, but that issue is being discussed right now,
They just won't be able to get to each one with their car.
okay? Now, one thing on this sidewalk issue, and I've been asked this question, why did you agree to do it? I didn't actually agree to do it. The old saying is no good deed goes unpunished sometimes. I actually volunteered to do it. And when we looked at it, coming up from there, we just said, since the way the town law is, believe this or not, there are 3 commercial lots that have various amount of footage from 680 feet on the sidewalk to 800 feet. The community only has about 600, so you'd be getting the commercial lots at the bottom would be responsible for plowing the snow going up the hill 15, 1,800 feet. And they would say to me when I'm marketing to them, why are we plowing snow almost 2,000 feet up a hill when none of our customers are gonna go there? So that's kind of a tough issue with the way the town code is written. Now, it would be a lot fairer if the residents took on the entire length of sidewalk, because they would be the only ones who would use it. And I would tell you, if Toll really felt there was a need for this, we'd be doing all we could to fit it, but they're saying to themselves, we've already got the sidewalks in the thing. We have a mile of walking trails. That sidewalk is a liability issue. Someone falls on it, that road is at a 10% grade. No hard feelings, but the town does a nice job plowing, but most of the snow ends up on the side of the road. And if you have a sidewalk on that side of the road, you'll be shoveling this much snow. So when we really looked at it, we said it's just not a good idea. The liability of people walking, and if someone is a jogger or a cross-country type of someone who likes in the woods, you're gonna have a grass shoulder on that road. So for someone who's into walking on dirt or trails, there's gonna be a a grass swale all the way down from top to bottom.
So let me ask a question, Paul. If someone wanted to, there's a sidewalk that takes you into the shopping down on Route 6 there now. Is it feasible to put a parking area for 2, 3, 4 cars down to the bottom of the hill? So I want to get some walking in, but I don't want to take on that hill, but I want to walk into McDonald's or whatever. Could I drive my car down? Could there be some parking spaces there in lieu of, maybe a trade-off, so that I could park my car in one of the 300 residents, and then I can walk into the shopping center?
That would be, that's an idea we're looking at right now.
Oh, you're stealing my idea and you're taking credit for it.
Sorry.
I think we should look at that. I'm a walker. I think a lot of people like to walk, a lot of people like to exercise, and I would like to see something on that.
Well, let's take a bicycle.
Do you have access to the bike trail?
Ride a bike down that hill at a 10% grade, and that would be a pretty exhilarating experience, because you'd pick up quite a bit of speed. I don't think there'd be many of us who would want to take a bicycle up a 2,000-foot road at a 10% grade. So the answer is, we're going to be hoping to put in 2 or 3 commercial establishments at the bottom.
Speaking to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's-
We,
It's for the people listening in.
sure, not a problem. We are aiming to put in 2 or 3 commercial establishments down below.
Establishments being bike sheds?
Excuse me?
Establishments being bike sheds, establishments being what?
Commercial establishment.
I would say there's, the interest we're getting, definitely a type of restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I was going.
That type of,
I was-
there would be restaurants. I could see Starbucks leaving the plaza, because every Starbucks now wants a drive-through. They also want a little outside area. The pandemic taught them the value of drive-throughs, so they're looking. I mean, Panera Bread would be a great use down in that area of town.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was still on.
So to answer your question, there's going to be plenty of parking for people to go down, park their car, and we are also talking about having some auxiliary parking, which we're not prepared to put in front of the board today, and I don't want you to figure it into your decision, because that just wouldn't be fair. I don't want to give you a concept idea and you guys hang your hat on it, because it's just a concept right now.
But if you anticipate using the commercial parking for somebody who, like Craig had said, wants to park and then walk into town, you're creating another problem, because they'd have to either walk across grass or they'd have to walk through the driveway, which is not a safe thing to do, to get to the, if I understand, you're gonna be putting sidewalk that starts from the existing and then goes up to at least the first driveway. Yeah, to the first driveway, right? Okay, so if they wanted to get to that, they need to either walk across the grass or walk through the driveway to get to that sidewalk. So, as Craig was saying, I mean, maybe we can come to a compromise.
If this is developed as commercial, there would be parking
Yeah.
connections to this point.
Correct.
So you just walk out the parking lot, get on the
But what I'm
sidewalk.
saying is it might not be that easy. They may have to walk across either the grass.
That's
or-
what I'm not understanding,
Yeah.
what grass?
I'm sorry, you need to take a microphone with you. It's just the people on, the people here.
Does the sidewalk wrap into the?
Yes. Yeah, the sidewalk would wrap into the commercial
Oh,
line. So
I
the
apologize.
the connection for anybody here would be a sidewalk out to Route 6.
Okay. I thought the sidewalk ended at the driveway. I didn't know
No,
it wrapped in.
it comes in.
Okay.
The piece we're looking to eliminate would be
Okay.
this from here up.
Is there any way to, I'll use the word engineer access to the bike path?
Yes, we've looked at that also, and so I don't forget, I'll just use this one. So I don't, we've looked at that, and there is a place on Lot 3 where you could park, and there's a rather level pathway to the bike path. The bike path sits lower, so we've got to get to a point where we could have a nice gradual walking trail down to it, or even a bike trail right down to the bikeway. But we're looking at all this stuff, believe me. The idea here is to create the best community you can.
I imagine access to the bike path goes two ways. If you give access to the bike path, you increase customer traffic at a Panera or something like that. Okay.
Absolutely. People will get off that bike path and naturally stop and get something to eat or have a drink. Let me give you a fact. 5 years ago, we were trying to relook at the project. I contacted a consultant group out of California. And they said to me, Paul, the lake on the property is great. The surrounding golf course is great. But the best amenity there is the bike and walking trail. So I said, wow, we should be looking at doing more things to bring that whole concept in, and we are.
So when you enter the property, where would the bike path, I know where the bike path is behind the other stores a little bit further down, but where do you connect to the bike path from your property? Do you go up the hill halfway? Do you stay down?
No,
the
no, no,
bottom?
you've got to be 90% down the hill to get to a reasonable grade to meet that bikeway.
Okay.
You're much too high.
So you almost rode 90?
Almost
okay.
down to the
10%
grade.
10% in.
The way we have it laid out, a path, we have some gravel parking, and we have a nice gentle path. I'd say it's 50 yards, 40 yards maybe, and it takes you right onto the bikeway at an even grade.
So you would have a bike shed down there possibly, or people have to get their bikes down the hill somehow? Or get them back up the hill?
Myself as a developer, I looked at it and said, why can't we put a small bike storage building down here with just electric and an air pump? So people don't have to take their bike. You know, my wife and I just bought bikes, and the bike rack is 50 pounds. I said, and the bikes today, we bought electric EV assist bikes. I said, they're pretty heavy bikes, pain in the neck. But when I talked to Toll about it, Toll says, Paul, good idea if it's a community of 10 people. But, you know, someone's bike gets stolen, who doesn't lock the door, some bike it's a headache. The parking, Paul, is a good idea. The bike storage idea, from their experience, and they have a lot of experience.
Yeah. Well, a lot of bikers have racks on their car and whatnot, so can you work on some parking down there?
When we come in with the commercial lots, at that point in time, we're going to factor that in. Now, we can do it two ways. We can create a section of parking just for the residents up top, and we can possibly create some small parking area that is open to the public. I can do that since I own the land at the bottom, I have that right, and when we come in, I'll look to fulfill my promise to look at that very closely, and if we can do it, we will. And if we can't do it, I'll have half a dozen good reasons why I couldn't fulfill my promise.
So you're agreeing to look at car parking on the bottom, and you're looking at a path to the bike path?
Absolutely. We're going to look at both a small gravel parking lot for the residents above to give them some sort of parking for themselves, and then we will look at another additional parking that would be open to other people, to the residents, if they wanted to get on the bike path at that particular point.
What's your guys' thoughts on this?
Another amenity, which I don't imagine would be expensive, is a bike rack. So people coming off the bike path can hitch lock their bike up themselves, but to one of those big metal racks.
Oh, you mean coming off and provide a public bike rack? Like
Yeah,
you
exactly,
have a
exactly.
Stool,
Yeah,
you pull your bike.
it's not expensive.
So they can go get their cup of coffee, or whatever.
Today, these bikes are so expensive, they want to park it by themselves, okay? They don't want to throw them in a rack like we used to do.
Pat, any thoughts on our thoughts here?
No, and I think that's a good solution. Again, we want to make sure the connection to the trail works. Paul referred to the grading of that, we have to look at that carefully. But we wouldn't get a bite at that
I just circled here, so we remind Rich, any thoughts? Mike, any thoughts?
No additional thoughts here on that.
Mike?
No, I just be careful what you develop, because if you put in a parking area, it has to be policed by somebody, so you may want to check with our police department if they're okay with you throwing these in that nobody can see back there.
I have about 6.5 acres sitting at the bottom there. So we will find a spot.
There's different parking facilities along the trailway as you go back and forth.
Yes.
Some of it's county facilities, some of it's local, some of it's excess land behind the shopping center that they had a gravel area, and you'll see it's posted as trailway parking. And it's just a donation of the shopping center to use a bit of the
Yes.
property. That's a similar situation that can occur here.
And Jim answered the question, or Zach did. We can't put the utility lines on the other side of the road. Common sense, water and electric do not mix well.
So was it the case, I believe Jim said, that in the past you could put the electric lines below a sidewalk, and now you can't?
NYSEG is certainly tightening the reins on what they want relative
Understandable.
to access. You know, they want to be able to get out of the truck and have direct access to that electric line. They don't want anything, anything in the way. And a sidewalk panel and panels of sidewalk is certainly something that would get in their way.
And if you want to know the reason why we're here, you can blame Jim. This all came up at a Thursday morning construction meeting when we looked at it and said, this is problematic. And from that, further discussions went on, and we started looking at the viability of the whole situation, and that brought us to here. So, and him and I have been working together since 1990, so that's 34 years. So when Jim says something, he gets my attention.
Right. Nicholas, any thoughts? Vicky?
I think the public lot at the bottom would be a good compromise for that. You provide access to the path for folks that would otherwise be up top, or for the general public in a spot where there's not really a place to park for access to the path.
We will look at that. I'll give you my word, and I've been here for 37 years. I have a pretty good track record when I give my word, so, and I'll be here when we do those, so if it isn't to your liking, you can give me my due, okay?
No, I agree with what Nicholas said. I also am interested to see what kind of, establishments you can, have come to the town, because we certainly can use some new things. So if that makes sense, that would be
totally does.
that would be a win for us as well. Yeah.
Nice, as it says, gateway into our community.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. John, you good?
Yeah, if you're going to ask me to say something, I will, Mr. Chairman. I think the impetus being that it was brought to us, I see no public outcry. We're not a major thoroughfare connecting two thoroughfares. It's not a village, urbanized type environment. It isn't low-income housing where I would say that people need to walk to the deli, walk to the bus stop. I think this is one case where you can look back and say we can, unmarry ourselves from a great idea.
Good point. I'd like to put it to a vote, just so we have it on the record of, So, Pat, you want to read off a vote for us?
So this would be an amended site plan to eliminate This would be an amended site plan that would eliminate the sidewalk that was depicted on the previously approved site plan. So it's just a motion to amend the site plan to remove the sidewalk.
So the motion would be just to accept the amended site plan?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll start off. I'll make a motion to accept the amended site plan.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And if I could say one last thing now that the vote is over, I appreciate your thoughtfulness on this. I really do. And I also, about 6 months or maybe longer, maybe it was a year ago, I happened to watch the meeting where this board reviewed the master plan. And I have to commend you and the professionals. That was pretty good, interesting to watch. Super thorough job, doing every bit of it, paragraph by paragraph. I thought that was super and extraordinary for what boards do, so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
I don't
Paul.
want to say that before.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Lamano Auto Body, 255 Route 6. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I skipped one. I'm sorry, I skipped right over that. Next on the agenda is Evans Septic Tank Service, 53 Old Route 6. Mike?
The applicant proposes to build a 6,300 square foot commercial building on a lot on Merriweather Estate subdivision. Properties in the C Commercial Zoning District. A variance is needed for lot width. How many employees will be employed at the property? You have to note that on the plat. Will this be used for Evans Septic exclusively, or will there be other people there? Will there be any outdoor storage? And provide floor plans and elevations. The board has been working to improve the area. Some improvements to the front facade are recommended. The last one that we did, I think we asked for them to do a barn-type structure.
Yeah.
Put some squared-in doors with the exits through them, so
Yeah, yeah.
something to consider.
Thank you. And Rich?
So the applicant really didn't address any of the comments from the last memo, so that memo still holds. What they were asking for in this particular memo is to be denied to the zoning board for a lot width variance. So they could not, the board, if you remember or recall, asked them to try to turn the building a little bit to make it fit, and they can't do it. And Adam will probably just throw that out there. So that's, my comments are still there, all the same referrals, all the same permits, et cetera, et cetera.
Rich, did the applicant meet with you to discuss the water?
Again, no comments have been addressed from the last time I did this, so no.
Okay.
All they did was come back and say, we want to go to zoning board and be denied.
Okay. Thank you. And Pat?
Same thing, Mr. Chairman. So they were before us in October of '23. We all provided technical comments. There were a substantial amount of comments. Your board had a number of comments. The applicant presumably went off to address those comments and hasn't returned since. And as Rich just accurately indicated, they're back to say, please send us to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Ordinarily, you evolve a plan to a point where you're satisfied with the plan before you send it to the Zoning Board of Appeals. So even in the applicant's submission, they said, we haven't gotten around to answering your comments yet. We'll do that soon. Ordinarily, you would see those comments reflected on a revised plan before you would make the referral to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
You're correct. Adam, how do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, it's just, we can provide some background on that. So yes, we were here in October, we received the comments. I know that, you know, obviously there were some technical engineering related comments. There were the comments about the architecture. We're going to be coming back with that. Since that meeting, we did have some internal discussion with the applicant about potential changes to the layout, to the architecture, and now we are, as Pat mentioned, ready to. It's been determined we're ready to go forward with the plan that was presented previously. The applicant is in the process of getting the architectural design done. We will be responding to all the comments. Just given the time lapse, we were looking to be referred to the ZBA, and I want to make sure it's clear that while yes, I agree with Pat's comment. Obviously, typically you'd want to have a more established set site plan for, you know, before going to the ZBA. The variance that's required here is completely just related to the lot itself, not to the layout or the use or anything to do with the site design. It's a lot width variance, so it's just another thing that we need to address through this process, and we're looking to, while we are in the process of addressing all of the broader comments that obviously are well taken and will be addressed, we wanted to just take this step in the interim while the applicant is having the architectural drawings and so on prepared, and again, we'll be coming in with responses. But given the fact that the variance that's needed has no bearing on the site design, is not related to this. It's not as though this is a setback variance or something where we could say, well, what if you move the building? This is a lot width. The lot is what it is. It's going to need this variance regardless. And it has really no bearing, again, on the layout of the site. It's just something directly related to the lot. So we wanted to take care of that, get referred to the ZBA, and then come back with a full response to all the comments, all of the architectural design, and so on.
Will any of your other changes affect zoning?
No. Our intention is to come back with the plan more or less as it is. It makes sense, the variances for lot width. We have a very narrow lot. We also have grade change that we're dealing with, so there's limited ways that we can design this site, so we don't think it's going to change. The applicant has settled on, this is how we're going to go forward. There are no other variants required. We're otherwise compliant with all, bulk regulations. It's just this one item that we want to address while we prepare to make that more full resubmission and address all the comments.
And Mr. Chairman, I just follow up on Mike's point, which is Adam saying, we're not going to change anything. We haven't seen that they're not changing anything.
Right.
That's the whole point.
And this board's view of projects like this that come before us in the past is, we, the board, don't like to send anything that's not further developed off to the zoning board. And I think you need to do another quick turn of the crank, get back on the agenda in 2 weeks, and then we'll look at it, and if you're ready, we'll send it off to the zoning board. But it's just not developed enough, in my opinion, to send off. We like to get a shot at the project first before we send it to them. So, any issues with that from any board members?
I mean, it could definitely help them if they show a facade change that includes some of the things we were talking. The zoning board may think that's great.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeing just a flat front building.
Well, again, Mike, the look of the building is not what's going to be in the ZBA's purview. They're there to weigh the lot width that's a pre-existing non-conforming condition.
It's not, but it's in ours, and it just falls under not developed enough. And we've spent quite a bit of time on this area on I don't know if you folks remember where it's old Route 6 there, that open area there. And we've had a couple of projects on that old Route 6 now, 2 or 3 at least, from the fuel station to the project alongside of you. And we spent a lot of time looking at it and architecturally trying to say, as Mike just said, farm-like building. We have one opportunity to fix up this old Route 6. I don't need to tell you, Adam, you know better than I what that area looks like. I think you need to do some more work, in my opinion, and then come back, and we're very willing to work in parallel and do things in parallel, but this we just need one more look at, in my opinion. Answer some of Rich's questions, Pat's and Mike's questions, and we'll be all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Another project on Route 6, 255 Route 6, Lamano Auto Body. This is the new Route 6. Mike?
The applicant proposes to build a 2,685 square foot addition to the auto body shop on Route 6 in Mahopac. The property used to be a mess. When Mr. Lamano purchased the property, he cleaned it up quite a bit. It looks great out there now. The applicant must use 15630, which is the automotive uses section. I attached that section for you to look at in your zoning table. So instead of using the lot area that's required for that zone, go to the other. You don't actually need a variance for that because it's only 20,000 is required. Parking calculation needs to be changed also. The code says not more than one parking spot per 1,500 square feet of lot area. So as long as you show under 18 parking spots, you're in compliance. Remove light impact industry parking calculation, and 4 variances are required from the zoning board of appeals.
Thank you, Mike. Rich?
So as Mike mentioned, it's the addition, construction of a new 2,685 square foot addition, referrals to the DEC, DOT, Department of Planning from Putnam County, GML 239M, Putnam County Department of Health, Town of Carmel Highway, and Carmel and/or Mahopac Fire Department. Need permits for New York State for stormwater, DOT if any curb cuts are required, Town of Highway work permit for work in Union Valley Road, which is the road behind this facility, Putnam County DOH for the water system connection, The project disturbs over 5,000 square foot. There's a little discrepancy with the SEAF, so that should be corrected. The applicant may be required to supply a stormwater maintenance agreement and public improvements. Performance bond associated engineering fee must eventually be established for the work. There are some more detailed comments. Provide a legend on the drawing. SEAF indicates there are archaeological sites on the site. Provide additional information regarding that. Provide graphic illustration and turning radii for all vehicle movements, available site distances. Any sidewalks and manhole and guide rails must meet Town of Carmel Town Code. If they're doing work in the town road, because they have to do a water connection over there, town road specifications are indicated in the memo. Town driveway specifications are indicated in the memo for if they're going to do work inside. Lighting spill plans should be provided. Any signs, erosion sediment control must meet state design criteria. And then after that, it's, the whole bunch. They have to, just so the board knows, there is a community water district there by Veolia. So they're going to have to get all their approvals from Veolia and Putnam County there. They're actually covering the existing well with this new addition. So that must be completely sealed off and probably filled with bentonite per county code. So they got to make sure it's completely abandoned if they're connecting into this community water. There's a new thing I've added to all my memos, and you'll be seeing this going through, and I apologize, I'll just go through it quickly. State stormwater construction permit requires twice-a-week inspections for any disturbance of 5,000 square feet. That's been an ongoing type of thing that's out there, but it's been up to the applicants and their design professionals to do them internally. The state now requires that those be provided to the MS4, which is the town, and I need to keep a running record of it starting of January 1st. So if this project is approved, it's over 5,000 square feet, 2 times a week, stormwater inspections are required by a qualified stormwater inspector. You'll see that in my memos going forward. It's a little long-winded in my memo, and I'll try to be a little short-winded now with it.
Thanks, Rich. So is that inspection the owner's responsibility?
The onus is on the owner, and they have to have a qualified professional. The MS4, which is the town, has a requirement to go out there once every 90 days, I think is what the new MS4 requirement requires.
And that goes back to existing establishments in the community?
Anybody doing work 5,000 square feet or more, starting January 1st, they should be providing me there twice a week. They should have been doing them all along, but it wasn't a requirement to give them to me. Or the town, the MS4, I should say. It is now a requirement. Talk about trying to stifle growth, call the state.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. And Pat?
So this is an application, they're proposing to add an extension to the left side of the auto body shop as you look at it. It's sort of a triangular piece that's on Route 6, but Union Valley Road cuts right behind it. The extension would be to the left as you look at it. Mike's absolutely right. This site and auto body shops, traditionally problematic uses. They're sloppy and messy. This site, however, has been cleaned up substantially. It's a nice, tidy site these days, so that's a good thing. Presumably, the addition would allow further activity to occur inside the building. The problems with auto body shops is when work's being done outside. The presumption is the addition will allow more work to be done inside the building. That's a good thing. Mike referenced that auto body shops have a special set of criteria that apply to them. Most of that criteria relate to how the facility will operate, so your conditions of approval will impose those conditions, like you can't do work outside the building, for example. That's a requirement in the code. 2 things that the code addresses that are specific that weren't really clearly addressed. So number 1 is, based on the frontage of the property, they're permitted 2 curb cuts. They have 3 right now. They're pre-existing. Not sure the status of them, if they were approved by DOT or not. So the question is, do you want them to remove one of them? Is there a benefit to removing that? If that's required, DOT is now involved in eliminating a curb cut if you want to do that. So the applicant should discuss whether that's a necessity to maneuver through the site or whatever. But that's a requirement in that section of the code. The other section relates to screening and landscaping. There's a requirement that these uses are screened and landscaped. So from the front of Route 6, there's really no opportunity. There's a couple of grass islands, but they're out in the right-of-way. They're not on their property. So they would have to get a license or some permission from DOT if they were to screen or put some plantings on there. In the back, there's an old wooden fence. And there is screening, but it's in Union Valley Road. I don't think it's on their property. So whether you need some additional screening or landscaping, again, it's in the code, and they haven't addressed anything, so they should address that. The issue with respect to the outdoor area, that we should have an understanding of parking, customer parking, employee parking, how the outdoor area gets used. That's our biggest concern with these auto body facilities, is how that outdoor space is being used. If it's a jumble of vehicles and they're shuffling and they're going out on Route 6 to move vehicles all day long, that's a problem. So that method of circulating throughout the course of the day should be clarified on the plans. Minor comments about lighting and where's the HVAC equipment going? Is it on the roof? Is it on the site somewhere? We should know about that. It should be on the plans. It appears as though there's a spray booth in the building. I'm not sure if that's being expanded or modified. Sometimes there's odors with spray booths. Is it up to code? We'd want to know about that and want to know if it's expanding. Those are minor comments. But as Mike indicated earlier, a bunch of variances are required for this as well.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat, the code says actually not more than 2 driveways shall be permitted for each 200 feet. He's got well over 200 feet.
And he's also got the back on Union Valley
Correct.
Road, so.
That's what I'm saying, so he's entitled to more than the 2, because
So-
he has over 200 feet.
So that, again, we have to talk to DOT, and you should comment on that and whether you think it's suitable or appropriate. And that relates to their circulation. So it's a conversation to be had.
Good evening. So prior to me asking the board if they have questions, maybe it's a good time for you to give us an overview of what you're planning to do. All of us are familiar with the property, so maybe just give us a little overview, please.
Sure. My name is Vladimir Levin. I'm an architect with Michael Picarillo Architecture. The owner's here. I'm sure you guys know him. Unfortunately, the site engineer could not be here today. He had a prior conflict, so any comments or questions or concerns related to the site, we'll just gather that information and have the site engineer address that directly. But I'll do the best that I can in speaking about the actual building itself. So it is an auto body repair shop, and the owner is looking to, he just needs more space for the work that he does. I think as Pat mentioned, part of the, or the benefit of doing the extension for him is being able to get the cars from outside and inside to perform his work better. But, it's an existing 2,200 square foot building, and he's proposing to add another roughly 2,700 square feet. As was mentioned, there's a bunch of variances that are required. It's a non-conforming lot. It's an odd-shaped lot, so there's, I think 5 different variances overall that are required. Architecturally, we're really being sensitive to the proposed building. The existing building is sort of a typical commercial brick building. The new building, we are, well, let me just go to that. So this is the existing building. It's a brick building with your typical commercial garage doors. The new building is over here on this side. Architecturally, we tried to marry the 2 buildings together by using some of the same materials. So the base of the building would be a similar brick to match the existing brick. The upper part will be vertical siding in red color.
What kind of siding, if I may ask?
It'll either be fiber cement or vinyl, but it'll be vertical panels.
So it's either going to be vinyl or...
Or fiber cement, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, something that's, really maintenance-free.
Like a hardy board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not the vinyl. The vinyl, though, would be not maintenance-free,
Plastic.
right? The hardy board would be. Because you mentioned it might be vinyl also.
Correct, it's either vinyl or cementuous, so it's going to be
Yeah.
one of the 2.
Right. We tried to add some architectural features to the building with some metal roof details over the entrances, the existing entrance, the 2 new entrances. And we also, since, there's really not a lot of opportunity to do any kind of landscaping in the front, we tried to dress up the building with some planters, as you can see here, to really kind of soften the whole look of the building.
I think that goes to Pat's point. There's not a lot that you can do with landscaping there, but when Pat was speaking, I did mention, I wrote down window boxes. There is something you can do to soften that. I drove around there today, the back off of Union Valley Road, is that your wood fence that's all beat up, for lack of better words?
That fence is,
Please get us, speaking to the microphone, state your name.
that fence has been there since I bought the property. I actually put a new fence. I don't know if that's my fence but that fence is gonna come down. And I am gonna screen the back fence all the way across, so it's not an eyesore. The building I'm looking for to expand is not to keep any cars in the front, not to have that place ever looking like it ever did. When I took over, I promised Mike that that place will never be an eyesore, and I'll never see junk over there. And I think I kept my promise after all these years. I get many phone calls during the week that people want to rent, they want to buy, they want to use, and I say no. But many people, body shops are hard to come by, it's impossible. I've been in a body shop in Lower Westchester, same location for over 40 years. I live up here, Pup Valley, Yorktown. So I'm looking to sell everything I have down there and spend the rest of my life up here, whatever's left of it, and then my kids will take over. But they work with me, they're the same way, they're clean, they're neat, and very fanatics about things.
I like everything you're saying, and it's on Route 6. We have another project down from you on Route 6 also, and we're stressing to that applicant, you know, we don't want any more eyesores. And most of you, several of you have two front yards, if you will. You front up on the cut through there to Union Valley Road, so we want that to look much nicer than what it does today.
I agree.
And the front of your building looks good.
It needs work, though.
Softened up.
It needs work, though.
You know, I always say that we get one shot at doing this, right? So I want a big focus in the backyard, nice focus in the front. I think it would be helpful to us if we, since we act as the architectural review board, if the architect provide us a rendering of what it would look like. And I would like to know, because I think there's a big difference between the vinyl and the cement board.
Sure.
Let me just open it up to ask any questions
No,
here.
I'd like to see that too.
A question, if we used a decorated cement block, would you guys be happy with that, or?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
If we were to use a cement block, a decorated cement block?
It's like a split face.
Yeah,
It looks pretty
I'll
nice.
leave it, I'll ask the board, John.
If you bring a detail of some of these things in so they can actually see it, it's very helpful. Even if it's just a piece of it, just so that they can see what it's gonna look like, because it's not a typical block, it has a texture to it, and they come up with some really nice colors and shapes.
John seems familiar with it.
Split block's beautiful.
Yeah.
I take that wholeheartedly.
I prefer cement block, I think it looks better, I think it's stronger. It'll be easier to power wash once it gets dirty. You know, that's my preference, but whatever you guys.
And sometimes, Mr. Chairman, when you try to match brick, it doesn't quite match, and it looks worse than using a different material.
Comments on the,
Well, I guess are you gonna be renovating the existing structure to make it kind of match the newer structure?
Well, I think what the architect was saying, that he wanted to go down on the bottom with the same, or close to the same color brick, and then the rest go up with wood, I would assume, with vinyl siding.
so the new building would try to match the old building on the bottom half with brick, and then that's where you put the cement board?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we didn't want to just put up another sort of brick box. We tried to give it a little bit more architectural features, but yes, that was the idea, is to marry the two buildings up by using the brick on the base to match up with the existing brick building, and then to kind of lighten the top of the building by using, you know, much lighter appearing material with the vertical siding.
I think the renderings would go a long way to help us see what you're planning.
As Mike said, bring in some sample materials.
Sure, we could do that.
Vladimir, people on planning boards are notoriously visual. Right? Every planning board you ever meet is notoriously visual, so I get it,
understand.
but it would be great. Thank you,
Sure.
Vlad.
Thank you.
So, you got many comments, but it's a good project, it's a good project for us, it's a good project for the town, it's a good project for you. So, we look forward to working with you through this.
Great.
You can get a copy of these comments from Rose, the secretary upstairs, if you don't already have it. Anything else from Mike, Rich, or Pat?
No, I just suggest you take that code section that I attached and just put it on your plat. Literally, put it on the front page and just show compliance with all the different things.
Okay.
Very simple.
And
Got it.
and on the heating, we'll probably go with the existing heat and just run pipes into the other building, because there is a boiler downstairs.
So your boiler in the existing building will take care of the new building, has the
Yes.
capacity to do that? Rich, is there a problem with that?
For boilers?
Running the lines and
That's a,
Yeah, there would be nothing outside. I think that's what Pat was asking about. He doesn't want to see mechanicals, so if we're going to have mechanicals outside, make sure you screen them. But if you're using the boiler, what about air conditioning? Would you be cooling or just window unit?
Just air conditioning in the office,
Yeah.
which is a window unit.
Perfect.
Great, great. You look forward to work. If you have questions during the week, you don't have to wait till you can call Mike, Rich, email Rose, call Rose. Great.
So you guys want a couple of pieces of concrete bricks, so we can go either direction, or is that what you guys are looking for, or?
Well, like John says, we're very visible.
Yeah.
If you have two or three,
It's gonna be hard to match block with brick, it's gonna look,
if you have two or three that you like and you bring them in, they can make the decision for you.
And if they give you a hard time, you can throw it at
But a rendering will go a long way for us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
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 All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
thank you, guys.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:55.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody, thank you.